Hello, and thank you for joining us at another great PIC event. It's so wonderful to see such a large crowd, and I just first wanted to start by expressing my appreciation to each one of you as PIC members. I think we have a great federal, state, and local team that does very well in the public arena because they're very skilled at what they do, but they also do very well because of the support from each of you that are in this room. So thank you so much for your continued support of the PIC. I'm Brian Cook, chair of your PIC Advisory Committee, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to share this lunch with all of you and to hear from two outstanding candidates for the Phoenix Mayor's office this afternoon, and we'll hear from them shortly. Before we start our program, we thought it would be appropriate if you all would rise and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excellent, thank you. I'd like to extend a special welcome to our board and council members who have joined us today, as well as members of our GM staff who are in the audience. Your ongoing support of PIC is crucial to our success, and we are proud to partner with you. As PIC members, programs like these and the insights you'll hear shortly from our special guests represent the unique and exclusive benefits of being part of this PIC organization. Since PIC's founding in 1976, members have enjoyed countless opportunities to hear directly from and speak directly to Arizona's leaders here at home and in Washington, D.C. These experiences have enabled our members from across SRP to be more informed and more engaged with our industry and our community, which is crucial in an election year such as the one we have now. We at PIC are dedicated to carrying on this tradition of fostering civil discourse and informing our citizens, and we are grateful for you, too. As you listen to our candidates today, we encourage each of you to write down a question or two and have them filled out on note cards. You should have note cards at your table. I see them at the front of the tables there with some pens. We ask that you fill out some questions for our candidates, and we'll go ahead and try to collect those about 12:30, and then they'll be shared with our candidates today at our question and answer session. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and welcome to the stage our SRP General Manager and CEO, Mike Hummel.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you all for joining us today to listen to two very experienced and thoughtful candidates vying for the position of Mayor of Phoenix. So we're very fortunate they're both here. As you know, Phoenix, as well as a lot of the municipalities in Arizona, have been long partners of SRP, and we've been able to do a number of good things in building a better valley and a better Arizona because of that partnership. We have worked with these communities to improve our watershed, secure our grid, and really build a better community for us all. And particularly, SRP and the city of Phoenix have a long and fruitful history, numerous achievements over the years. Most recently, a couple of them I want to note are successful partnership to plant 1,200 trees throughout the city, and our historic agreements on well leases to ensure reliable water supplies, both very big achievements for both of us, and we're glad to work with you, and we look forward to continuing to work on that partnership with the next Mayor of Phoenix. I'd like to particularly thank former council members Kate Gallego and Daniel Valenzuela for being with us today and taking the time to join us. It's great that we have this many people here to listen to this discussion, and I know we all look forward to hearing more about your visions for your future as Mayor of Phoenix. We'll give you a sneak preview of those visions. We felt it was appropriate to hear from each candidate in their own words and why they're running and the leadership they'll bring to Phoenix. So in no particular order, we'd like to play a video from each of the candidates.
Being an advocate, that's what this is all about. For better learning opportunities for kids and adults. Innovative ideas that will help us be globally competitive. Infrastructure that will be second to none. And an economy that lifts everyone. We do this work because we care. This is what has driven my work on economic development at the City Council And this is what I will take to a whole new level as your next mayor of Phoenix. I'm so proud of what we've done. We brought 7,000 new jobs to this city council district. We worked with great partners like AARP to pass a comprehensive transportation plan, Prop 104. I want to build a Phoenix that works for everyone. We need more police officers when response times in one part of the city are twice what they are in other parts of the city. City Hall should be a partner, not a hurdle. Phoenix should work for everyone, and Phoenix should welcome everyone. Most of you know my son, Michael. He's brought an entirely new sense of motivation to me that I didn't know was possible. Being his mom is the greatest honor of my life. And if we're being completely honest, I want to make this city so cool that he'll never want to leave. Now let's get to work.
Phoenix, 1975. That's when my story began. And like most stories, there's been struggles and achievements. The story of Phoenix is no different. Some would say cities are just buildings and roads, but Phoenix is people. And the future of Phoenix will be determined by what we do for one another.
Great. Those are great videos. It's great showing your families. Kate, I just want to say, if you think providing a better Phoenix will keep your kids from moving away when they grow up, good luck with that. I failed at that. So we're honored to have a very special guest with us as well. I had a chance to talk with her a little bit today. She'll be serving as the moderator for this important discussion. You'll most certainly recognize her as the co-host of the weekday morning show, Arizona Daily Mix, on AZTV. I had the chance to talk with her early. She is fabulous. She assured me of that, and I'd like to welcome Catherine Anaya to the stage to introduce our candidates and kick off today's discussion.
I actually did. Thank you so much for having me. Such a great audience. I'm so honored to be here, especially because we have two incredible candidates for you to listen to today and get to know a little better. So with that, I'd like to invite our two mayoral candidates to the stage to join me, Kate Gallego and Danielle Valenzuela. Good to see you both. Thank you so much. Those were wonderful, very powerful videos on behalf of both of you, offering great insight into your vision for Phoenix and your motivation for wanting to be mayor. Before we dive into more specific questions about your vision of Phoenix and for your goals as mayor, could you please briefly, in maybe about 1 minute, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you would define who you are?
Hello, I'm Kate Gallego. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a special event for me. As most of you know, I am an alum of SRP. I joined SRP in 2005 as an analyst in training, so I wasn't even a full analyst at the time. And it's a funny event for me here today because almost everyone in the room used to be my boss. And then everyone who didn't used to be my boss was in my Toastmasters club, so I'm very nervous about my public speaking today. But I am a proud Phoenician, mom, chocolate lover. I've been on the Phoenix City Council and am proud of the work we have been doing there. Very passionate about building a better Phoenix. I have an environmental studies degree. So when I was running for Phoenix City Council was the year that the book came out saying Phoenix was the least sustainable city on the entire planet. So probably the environmental background was a little untraditional for running at the time, but it worked out for me, and I'm hopeful to take that to the mayor's position. I live in Phoenix with my family, my parents. I'm very close to my mom and dad, and they are helping me as I raise my son, little Michael. And we had a cool weekend this weekend. He said, "I love you" for the first time. So
that's very
excited to be a mom and a candidate for mayor.
Thank you, Kate. Daniel, if you could please tell us a little bit more about yourself in 1 minute.
Thank you. I'm going to talk really fast. Thank you, Catherine. I want to thank all of you for being here. What a great opportunity to be able to talk with Kate and talk with all of you about the issues. I'm Daniel Valenzuela. I was born and raised in this city. This is my hometown. Raised for the most part by a single mom who struggled. My dad, who I love with all my heart, but never could overcome his demons of alcoholism. Lost my parents when I was 21. Lost my first mentor and my oldest brother to AIDS 3 years prior. And what an amazing city, because I'm actually sitting here sharing a stage, vying to be the mayor of my hometown. Because of the help I got along the way. Boys and Girls Club, Phoenix Urban League, Arizona College Team, which allowed me to work at the age of 13 to buy school clothes for my brother and me, and of course help my mom. I became a firefighter, am a firefighter, and have been on the city council since January 3rd, 2012, focusing on public safety, economic development, education, and of course innovation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both of you. Obviously, you both care very deeply about the city of Phoenix, and you have demonstrated that through your service on the Phoenix City Council and outreach in the community, of course. Can you share with us what drove you to want to take the next step to becoming the mayor of this great city? Kate.
It's such an exciting time for us in Phoenix. We're coming out of the recession. We've either been the fastest growing or second fastest growing city in the entire country, and it would be easy to be complacent. We're a Sunbelt city. Maybe in August we don't all appreciate it, but generally it's a real asset. And we just have our future in front of us. I'm so excited about the potential, and I want to take on big things and really push Phoenix to go to the next level. I think we'll talk a little bit more about what we hope to achieve. But if you just look at some of the things the next mayor will get to take on, whether it's economic development or I'm very excited about potential redevelopment along the Salt River Valley. So one of the projects that John McCain has said will be his legacy project. And I want to be a part of making this city even greater. And I'm going to rise to the Mike Hummel challenge and try to build a city that my son will want to be educated in and raise his family in.
Thank you, Kate. Daniel, if you could, just a little bit about what drove your vision to want to be mayor.
Absolutely. In the question, you start by talking about the passion for Phoenix, and I certainly am passionate about this city. You know, when I was first running for office in 2012 and I was knocking on some of the same doors, I mentioned I attended 13 public schools in Phoenix, Title I schools in Phoenix, and I would find myself knocking on some of the same doors, literally in the same neighborhoods that I spent just a few months of my life in. And what I learned then is that people who live in these neighborhoods, they wanted the same thing my mom wanted, same thing I want as a parent. They want a safe neighborhood, they want good schools, they want a good paying job, and these are things that I have fought for in the district and citywide, and these are things that I will continue to do by, again, creating policy and advocating for policy to create good jobs, strengthen our infrastructure, of course, our education, which I hope to talk about here soon, and just advance our city moving forward.
That leads me into my next question, because you both are very passionate about the city, obviously. What would be your top 3 priorities as mayor? Kate.
For me, it would be public safety, infrastructure, and economic development. Certainly with public safety, you can't focus on the other things if people are not safe in their communities, and so we need to continue to invest and hire and modernize the public safety systems. It's so exciting to be at an SRP audience when you're talking about infrastructure, because I just mentioned infrastructure and not one of you yawned. And just to warn you all, when you leave here, the SRP values stay with you and you still keep talking about infrastructure, even if your campaign manager would like you to spice it up. But it's incredibly important when you have such a quickly growing city, and we're more than 500 square miles. Just delivering good streets and water, all of those services takes a lot of planning as mayor. And then economic development is my real passion. It's exciting to have Heidi Schaefer there. It was actually through her and a WIN networking group where I really got excited about going into economic development, and it was working in economic development at SRP that inspired me to want to run for office. So it's sort of her fault that you're all here today.
Thank you, Kate. What about you, Daniel? What would your top 3 priorities be?
I have to say, the mayor, above all else, has to be a coalition builder and a problem solver. There is not a single issue that we can discuss on this stage today or literally at any dinner table across the city tonight if we cannot bring people together to actually solve an issue. And that's what the mayor has to be, and that's what that's what I have been at home with my kids, but well, as a firefighter, as a first responder, and of course, as an elected official, I've proven to do that as I've chaired the Downtown Aviation Economy Innovation Subcommittee, which is the economic development arm of the city of Phoenix, and helping to tackle tough issues like, how do we lift the hiring freeze? We actually had a 5-year hiring freeze in the city. Hiring freeze. We weren't going to hire a first responder for 5 years. That's a real issue. Being a coalition builder is incredibly important. Of course, keeping people safe. I kind of talked about getting that hiring freeze lifted, and economic development, of course, jobs by way of education as well, by way of helping to create the most diversified workforce, which then moves our economy forward. Those are some of my priorities, and I'll stop there. And I'm tempted because that light is still green, but Kate's been good, and I'll stay on track as well.
Thank you very much. Well, you both touched on your experience. So starting with you, Kate, what would you say has prepared you to become mayor?
If you look at a lot of the challenges that the next mayor will face, I think I have a good background to take them on. So I realize that in this room, there's a lot of people who are water barons and have forgotten more about water rights than I will ever know. But I do think having worked in water rights at SRP is a really good preparation for the challenges the next mayor will face. As this room is well aware, we have a very significant drought. We're in talks about the Colorado River, and I think it'd be very helpful to have a mayor who can be a real champion for our water rights. So I think that is a good background. The MBA has prepared me well, and working in economic development, the next mayor can do a lot to really push and shape the economy to be the economy we all want in the future, to have high standards and chase those high-wage jobs. For those of you who work in SRP's Economic Development Group, it's a professional requirement to complain about your elected officials not doing enough on economic development. And having gone through that experience, I really want to push us and say, call centers and any job is great, but can we push for high-wage medical jobs, advanced manufacturing, take Phoenix to that next level?
Thank you, Kate. What about you, Daniel? What would you say has really prepared you for this moment and this stage?
Well, I appreciate it. Again, chairing the economic development arm for the city of Phoenix, creating and implementing, adopting policies that have helped Phoenix become a national leader in tech job growth. The drivers of our economy today, from just a few years ago, you may remember, real estate, retail, tourism, great sectors of our economy, but the first to be deeply impacted in a recession. Today, it is advanced manufacturing, healthcare, transportation. The entrepreneur is the core of our economy. The entrepreneur now feels that way. So leading on those efforts have helped me, serving on the multiple subcommittees, chairing the subcommittees and task force. The tough issues such as pension reform and those types of things have helped me, but it's my personal experience as well. It is attending 13 public schools and understanding that every school must be a safe school. It is watching my mom have 2 and 3 jobs and realizing the importance of why we have to diversify our economy. It is being on the front line of reality as an example, as a firefighter, understanding the importance of public safety and why that weaves into the thread of who we are as a city. So it is also my personal experience that prepares me to be on the stage today as well.
Thank you for that. You both are longtime leaders in the city, and the leadership of the city of Phoenix has played a key role in driving the success of the Phoenix metropolitan area and making it an internationally attractive place to live, to work, and to play. How do you plan to continue Phoenix's leadership role while working with other cities in the region? Kate.
Thank you. And speaking of internationally competitive, we got great news yesterday. American Airlines is adding a nonstop flight from Phoenix Sky Harbor to London. It'll be starting in March, so if you want to go on your phone now and book your ticket, I would highly recommend that because that type of international connection is very important, and I'm going to keep pushing for that as mayor. I would love to see more international flights and international commerce. We want to be globally connected and an epicenter. I also hope to work very closely with the other cities. Phoenix is the largest city in the valley, and as that, the mayor has a great opportunity to convene mayors. I think education is a top issue, and I really want to continue the great work Mayor Stanton has done with his Mayor's Education Roundtable. I'd also like to work together with other mayors on key issues like homelessness and mental health, which are becoming increasing challenges, and those don't stop at the boundaries between our cities. And on issues like water rights, I think we all need to work together regionally because we have so many common challenges.
Thank you, Kate. What about you, Daniel? How do you plan to continue Phoenix's leadership role while working with other cities in the region?
Phoenix is the 5th largest city in the country with more landmass than Los Angeles. We're 50 years or more younger than most major cities in the country. And the mayor of the city of Phoenix has to realize that it's a responsibility to the people of Phoenix, certainly, but must realize that there's a responsibility to this region. 76% of all economic growth and activity in the entire state is in this region. And so there is an opportunity to help move the entire region forward, and I think I have had a head start there. I've been the city of Phoenix's representative, as an example, on Westmark, which is a board that consists of business leaders and mayors. I've been the non-mayor elected official representing Phoenix for years. The Arizona League of Cities and Towns, 91 cities and towns being represented by their mayor. Well, 90 represented by the mayor and 1 council member. But I think that is what has brought me the endorsements of people like Georgia Lord, as an example, the mayor of Goodyear, and Kathy Carlette, the mayor of Peoria, Sharon Walcott, Anna Tovar, several council members from around, and several business leaders. So I think it's understanding the responsibility and what to do with it. I just convened 9 different cities, representatives, mayors, over at Cass, as an example, to see the homeless issue for what it is so that we can attack it and approach it methodically as a region. I think that is the responsibility of the mayor of Phoenix.
Thank you. We know that Phoenix is vibrant, it's growing, it's one of the reasons why we live here. But what opportunities and challenges does this pose for our city? Kate.
We really do need to keep planning ahead. We're very nervous if we do have the drought on the Colorado River. What is that going to mean for our water supply? The southern portion of our city is very lucky and has SRP water rights, but particularly in the northern part of our city, the Central Arizona Project is crucial. And so we're going to have to plan ahead as the next mayor and make sure that we have the infrastructure to provide water in the northern part of our city if there does tend to be a drought on the Colorado. We have to do innovative partnerships to be able to get that done. The city has done 2 great partnerships with 2 cities, Tucson and Avondale, where they're storing water for us and we'll have the opportunity to have access in the future. I had the pleasure of working on both of those partnerships, and both the Democratic mayor from Tucson and the Republican mayor from Avondale are supporting my campaign because they think I'm the right partner, particularly on these infrastructure challenges. We cannot take these things for granted. I mean, imagine if we had a headline saying Phoenix in drought can't supply water. That could cause a mini recession in our community. So we've benefited from elected officials in Arizona who've worked on a bipartisan basis to plan ahead, but we can't be complacent and we have to continue to look to the future.
Thank you. Daniel, what would you say are opportunities and challenges?
That is an excellent topic, and water, infrastructure. What I'll focus on here for the next, that seems like I'm getting like 20 seconds, by the way. What I'll focus on for the next 17 seconds is education. You know, something that I created, I just put out an 18-page paper called Educate Phoenix. I push back every single time someone tells me that education is not in the purview of the mayor. It's at the legislature. The budget may be at the legislature, but you know, I just dropped 2 little boys off of school this morning before starting my day. It's in my purview. We have libraries and community centers. Created something called Code Phoenix, which is rolled into this Educate Phoenix plan. Phoenix is the only city in America, and hopefully not for long, because I put a bow on this and I've given it to every mayor in the valley in the state, and I'm sharing it across the country. We're the only city in the country to offer free programming, coding, robotics to every kid between the ages of 4 and 17. Because I know what it's like to keep up or catch up. And we will become the best when it comes to developing the talented workforce we need to move our community forward. Followed up by something that you'll hear about very soon that I'm creating called Upskill Phoenix. Phoenix should have the largest short-term upskilled talent workforce in the nation. Our kids, whether they're going to a great university, and we have great universities here, and the community colleges, or if they choose to become a carpenter, our kids shouldn't have to leave home to chase their dreams. We have what they need here. We just have to get organized, we have to get creative. And by the way, these programs, like all of these programs that I've created for the city that are being implemented, are done without raising a tax. So education is the key as we continue to move forward.
Thank you, Daniel. We know that it takes a village to get things done. A key to an effective city government is a Phoenix City Council that works collaboratively together. As mayor, Kate, starting with you, what steps will you take to further encourage collaboration among council members?
I've had a good record of bringing people together to get things done at the City of Phoenix. I'm very proud of the work I did on the Equal Pay Ordinance, which is meant to close the pay gap between men and women. When we launched it, it was very controversial. The Arizona Republic and several other media outlets really pushed back on us. But by the time we finished, they were on board and saw the value, and it passed the City Council unanimously. If you're a Phoenix voter, it's election day on Tuesday. Please get in your ballot. There's a ballot Proposition 412 that I worked on with Councilman Jim Waring. He and I are often on the opposite side of many issues, but we work together to address this issue, which takes on, if council members, this will be stunning to you all, sometimes have bad behavior. And at the Arizona legislature, when someone committed harassment this year, the legislators could vote that person out, and they did. We don't have that option at the City of Phoenix, so Proposition 412 would give that option, and that's another, we were able to bring people together, that passed unanimously. So I think I have a good record of getting things done.
Thank you very much for that. Daniel, how about you?
Please repeat the question, Catherine.
Yes, absolutely. So as mayor, what steps will you take to further encourage collaboration among council members?
That is a great question. When I was first elected, there was a 7-week process between election, this is back in 2011, election day and taking office. And I met not only with the city manager and all of our directors, but I met with every council member. And I asked, and we can talk about whatever they wanted, but I respectfully asked, maybe we don't talk about politics. I wanted to learn about them, hear about their children, share about why I've decided to run and my passion for the city as well. I wanted to learn about them, make it a point to continue to reach out to elected officials as well. I was taking on a district that was the lowest voting district, and it's not any longer by a long shot, in the city. So it was the most underserved district, and it no longer is either, by the way, right? The hotspot for crime, as an example, was that whole Grand Canyon University area. In a 4-mile radius, crime rates are down by 30%, property values are up by 30%, but I couldn't do that by myself. I needed support from the council. People who never even drove into West Phoenix, frankly, in my car, driving with me so that they can see the issues, because I needed their vote on some of these zoning issues. And of course, being willing to get into their car and take a tour of their district. And so that's been my forte, just again, my motto, bringing people together to move Phoenix forward, and that's what it's all about.
Thank you, Daniel. SRP in the City of Phoenix recently launched the Right Tree, Right Place program, which addresses energy safety and reliability issues for local neighborhoods. And SRP, while also helping the City of Phoenix to expand its shade canopy and reduce the heat island effect and sequester carbon. Are there any other SRP City of Phoenix energy partnerships that you would be interested in exploring? Kate.
So I had the pleasure of chairing the Sustainability Finance Workforce Subcommittee at the council. And at my last council meeting, I sort of, as chair, I tried to tee up some of the things I hope to work on should I be lucky enough to come back to the city. One of them was more expansion of our electric vehicle work. As most of you know, the city partnered with the electric utilities to try to promote electric vehicles, and that's been a very successful marketing initiative. I would love to invest more in infrastructure and keep that going. We also talked a lot about energy storage at that last subcommittee meeting. Both APS and SRP have partnered on energy storage projects in other cities. We need to do more in Phoenix, and I would love to see that happen. Phoenix plays a really important role regionally in emergency management, and I think energy storage makes sense from a security perspective as well as pushing innovation. Energy storage is an area where we have some expertise in the valley, and I think it could also be an important economic development play where Phoenix and the Phoenix metro area could lead in that area. So I'm going to be pushing those two initiatives.
Thank you. Daniel, are there any other SRP City of Phoenix energy partnerships that you would be interested in exploring?
Well, quickly, I'll go back to the Right Tree, Right Place program. That's also incredibly important because it could be a public safety issue. Some people are planting trees not realizing what that tree is going to look like in 10 or 15 years, and it may be right under a power line. I've been to a few of those fires, right? So I love the education behind it as well. And I agree, it is about advancing electric vehicles for our fleet, the plan for electric vehicles for our fleet. When I first took office, January 3rd, 2012, one of the things that I helped push for is just finding more ways, working with our partners for renewable energy. We were only producing 7 megawatts of solar in 2012. Today, 32, not bad. But again, we are Phoenix. So what could we be doing? 500 square miles, we could be doing far more at the landfill as an example, more at the airport. We have a lot going on at the airport. But, so anyway, it is the electric vehicles, it is our renewable energies. And while the light is still green, I'm gonna throw this in there. Working with SRP and our universities and our community colleges and our elementary schools and so on more innovation challenges, more opportunities to bring the brightest minds of Phoenix, which are our kids. Let's work together to give them a challenge. Let's see how they view some of these issues, and they're going to help us figure a lot of this stuff out. And I think it encourages the right mentality and the right energy here in Phoenix as well.
Thank you so much for that answer. In recent years, challenges have arisen between cities and the state legislature regarding jurisdictional issues such as tax incentives, minimum wages, and campaign finance reform, for example. How do you view the city's relationship with the legislature? Kate.
So once I graduated from being an analyst in training to a real analyst, I once had a job at SRP of filling out a spreadsheet of all the different rules on several issues that affected SRP across cities. So I definitely felt how a business can be frustrated if the different rules change every time you cross city boundaries. And I think there's a lot to be said for cities working together and having consistency. But there are also times when I feel very strongly that we need to stand up for our city and our ability to make our own decisions. One example that I often give is on our water system. The city is enormous. We have, I think, the second largest water system in the country in terms of delivering water. And the state has tried to tell us sometimes how to run it. So they wanted to make rules about what type of pipes we should have to use. There was a lobbyist who felt very strongly that one type of pipe material was better than the other. I used to be married to an Arizona legislator, so I know they are not qualified to pick the pipes in the water system. I, as someone who worked at SRP, am also not qualified to pick the pipes in the water system. We have an amazing water services department led by Catherine Sorensen, who has an amazing team, and they should be the ones deciding whether we have plastic, clay, or metal pipes in the water system.
Thank you, Kate. I don't know about your experience with pipes, but Daniel, how do you view the city's relationship with the legislature?
I'm not qualified to pick the pipes either. But I do appreciate the comment because I agree. We have subject matter experts, and not just our city staff, but in the room. We should be reaching out to our subject matter experts and start those conversations at the beginning, not at the end, before we actually move something forward. it should not be an adversarial relationship between the leadership of the fifth largest city in the country and our state and at the legislature. We have no choice but to work together. And so we have to push party politics aside. We have a responsibility to the people of our community to do that. And I have a history of doing that. So, and I'm not gonna, we don't agree on everything, I'll tell you. I mean, I pushed for the anti-discrimination ordinance here in Phoenix in 2013. If it was up to the legislature, we wouldn't have passed that. The very next year, 1062 was introduced. Fortunately, it failed, right? But that's my point. There are certain things that we're going to be able to see eye to eye on, certain things that we're not going to be able to see eye to eye on, and we have to stand up for the people of Phoenix. But at the end of the day, I think the typical voter just needs to be represented and really doesn't want to be caught up in the fight between that party or that personality versus this personality. They just want to, again, a safe neighborhood and good school and good jobs.
Thank you. This next question is kind of a two-parter, so you'll have a couple of minutes each for this answer or these answers. Another area where SRP and the City of Phoenix have a number of longstanding partnerships is water management. What do you see as the key to these partnerships, and do you have any thoughts for future opportunities for SRP and the City of Phoenix to partner on current issues or opportunities?
SRP and the City of Phoenix have had great working relationships from elected officials to elected officials, from staff to staff. Our water folks and SRP's water folks work really well together, and I think those relationships will continue to pay dividends. We do need to do more. I was very encouraged by the 2016 pilot at Coronado Generating Station, where it appears that biomass might be a potential fuel that could be added to the feedstock there, and I think that's a great partnership because we need to do more to clean up the watersheds, and we need to have a better economic model for taking the biomass material and figuring out where it can go. The city, I think, would be a good partner. We're trying to do more on renewable energy. As Councilman Valenzuela said, we want to get those megawatt hours up, and that's a partnership that I'd be very excited about. I would love to do more on water conservation education, deepen our partnerships on research. We're doing some great research on flows on the Salt and Verde rivers. We could do more in all of those areas. Very excited about the ability to partner, and I have a lot of ideas about things that we could continue to do. It's a great relationship, and given the drought, we're going to have to do more.
Thank you. So Daniel, two-part question. Again, what do you see as the key to these partnerships, and do you have thoughts or ideas for future opportunities?
Well, I agree on what was just said about the partnerships. I'll answer them the other way around, rather than reiterate much of what was said, but also just capturing the water from some of these storm events. That's something we can continue to work on. We are in the middle of monsoon season, and we are still seeing flooding in North Phoenix and in South Phoenix, as an example, which, Kate, you've done a great job at not only assisting people who are dealing with flood issues in places like Levine, but working on infrastructure to help resolve that. So we need more of that. But those types of conversations, I shouldn't say but, because I will stop there. That's a well-deserved accolade. Those types of conversations have to be had at the beginning of the project as much as possible. It doesn't help anyone to extend the project if we're starting, and this is the first part of the question. It's all about communication. It's all about bringing people to the table as early as possible and talking and walking through it. Again, the subject matter experts for something like this are sitting in this room. And we have really good people, as you know. I think we have great advocates working for the city of Phoenix on our staff side. So not that this needs to be repaired, because it's never been broken. It's been one of the strongest partners we have as a city is SRP. But encouraging city staff, which I've received calls from people in this room recently as we were working through some issues, it would be really helpful to encourage city staff to get back to the table and have these conversations. and making that part of the process as opposed to expecting a phone call from an elected official to do that. I think these are the things that we have to continue to work on.
Thank you very much. You both have done so well with time management today that we have actually covered a lot in a short amount of time. So I want to offer you the opportunity, each of you, if there are any last thoughts that you would like to share with our audience today. Kate.
I just want to say a thank you to the people here. There have been so many friends and mentors. I shot the video before I knew this event was happening, but you might have seen a few SRP faces in the video. So just thank you for your partnership. I would not be qualified to be running to be the next Phoenix mayor without having worked at SRP, and I'm very grateful for all that you have given to me.
Thank you, Kate. Daniel.
Well, thank you all for this opportunity. You know, when I was a little boy growing up in this city, and I would gaze out of the classroom window of whatever classroom I was attending, I often would take a look at these buildings in downtown Phoenix, and I would wonder what they were, who they stood for. I wondered if they thought of my mom. And having an office, having the responsibility, like my colleague, to drive into downtown for several years, actually having an office in one of those buildings, looking out, I can literally see some of the neighborhoods that I grew up in. And it's a reminder that dreams come true. And I'm not talking about the dreams of an individual, because I got to be honest, I'd never dreamed of running for office. I dreamed of serving. But those buildings, and like everything that we work on, our canal system is an example, and light rail, our parks, schools, there was someone's dream on a drafting table at some point. And now they have all of yours and ours, our fingerprints on it. We have a great city. We could be greater. We have to continue to work together, set lofty goals, and achieve those dreams.
Thank you very much. We do have time for one more question here, and I do want to make it a personal one. Who is the political figure, past or present, you most admire? Kate.
So I'm a big fan of Mo Udall, who represented Arizona in Congress. He was a real statesman and would bring people together. He was a leader on important issues like water rights and campaign finance, and he was incredibly funny. He's full of great wisdom that is very helpful for those of us running for office. I'll paraphrase one of his quotations, which was, "Give me words that are gentle and tender, for I may have to eat them tomorrow."
We'll remember that one.
It's good advice.
Daniel.
When I voted for the first time, it was for a statesman by the name of Ed Pastor. Congressman Pastor, it blows me away that now, you know, having his support for my run for mayor, he's been such a good friend, a personal friend, a mentor. But talk about a throwback to the times when our elected officials, our statespeople, in this case a statesman, had no problem boldly reaching across the aisle to actually get something done. The contributions that this person has made with light rail and infrastructure, many things at the airport, it's only because he had that ability. And so he's been a mentor. And the other thing I'll just say, what most impresses me about the congressman, I will always call him the congressman, is his ability to do those things. But you see this person around his family, and the way he looks at his family, and the way his family looks at him, he's really got it figured out. And so he is not just a mentor in the political world, but just in my personal world as well.
Thank you very much for sharing that. We wanted to give our audience an opportunity to ask a couple of questions. So this first question is on the topic of homelessness. Kate, if we could start with you, what would the city ever consider? Would the city ever consider using the Steel Indian School property to create micro-housing for homeless vets? And what portion, it's twofold, of the budget helps veteran homelessness and overall welfare?
I was so sure the first question was going to be, what is your favorite memory of working with Josh Robertson? No, that's an incredible, homelessness is a huge issue. It's the fastest growing social services challenge in the city of Phoenix, I think up 60%. And when a problem, people in business know, when a problem's up 5% per year, it's a huge problem. So homelessness is something we're gonna do all hands on deck for. Indian Steel Park, I don't know is the perfect solution. It has some very complicated federal entanglements. But City of Phoenix actually has a separate lobbyist in DC just to work with the Department of Interior on the issues there. So if we wanted to have quick results, I think that wouldn't be the first place I would go. I'm very proud that in my district we've built more housing for at-risk veterans than anywhere else in the city. I have great partnerships, and I'm supported by the folks at US Vets who have been supporting my campaign. If you saw the initial video, there's a gentleman named Terry Ehrman who's in the Veterans Hall of Fame for the work he's doing on homeless veterans. And he's been advising me on these issues, and we're looking at several different tax credits and different programs that we can do to really ramp up what we're doing. Right now, there is a bed available for every homeless veteran in the city of Phoenix, but there's not enough mental health services for some of the people who are in the greatest crisis right now. And so sometimes, even if a bed's available, it's not a match for those individuals. So when I talked about taking on mental health as mayor, there's a lot of good work we can do there, but it's very complicated issues, and we're gonna need all hands on deck to address the problem.
Thank you. And Daniel, your thoughts on consideration for Steele Indian School property and also helping veteran homelessness and overall welfare?
Well, still property that, I don't know if the park is the right place to do it, but we can, again, 5th largest city in the country, over 500 square miles. Cass and the campus is doing a great job. I think regionally we have to work on a solution in the West Valley and the East Valley. And I think we can get there, which is why I sent a personal invite handwritten to 55 elected officials, local elected officials in this entire region, mayors, council members, inviting them in to tour Cass with me, have a conversation on this issue, because this issue is not confined to one neighborhood or one city in this region. We have to come together and we have to figure out how we're going to approach this together. And 9 cities were represented. There's this little thing called an election that unfortunately we have to reschedule the next meeting to continue that. But it is a regional issue. Something that I have also been working on is how we deal with homelessness on the streets with law enforcement as well. And let me just tell you what I mean by that. Our first responders, our police officers they're not social workers, and they're being called to some of these calls, and they don't know what to do with this particular scenario. So what can we do to actually get social workers in certain police cars, which is a plan that I'm going to be talking about here real soon. And how we can accomplish that. And I've interviewed many of our education institutions and organizations, behavioral health organizations, of course, our own city staff, and how we get there. And we will get there. We can accomplish that. But it's going to have to be thinking outside the box, because no one in the country has truly figured that out. We will.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Another great question from the audience here, and this is on the topic of light rail. What will you do as mayor to ensure communities like South Phoenix have access, such as light rail, and that the process keeps moving forward? Things like fresh food, access to that. Kate.
So I have had the pleasure of being one of the 2 council people who represented the area south of downtown. A lot of our public housing is right south of downtown, and these are individuals, unfortunately, who are living right now without air conditioning. So if you don't have air conditioning in Phoenix, you do not have 2 cars and a garage to drive to work. Many of these individuals are dependent on public transportation. There's a huge problem with chronic pain, and many individuals who are in wheelchairs are using other mobility aids. If you're in a wheelchair, it is much easier to use light rail than the bus system. And the areas I represent there were actually the areas where light rail was most popular when it went to a vote in 2015. So these are individuals who I think have not always life has not been easy, And I would really like to see this light rail project move forward and give them a connection. There's also a lot of young people who would have a chance to get to school, people getting to doctor's appointments, jobs. And I've really been pushing at the federal level. Some of my colleagues wanted to pause it, and unfortunately now the federal government has said that they won't take our submittals because they don't think there's the political support there. So I was the only council member to say that's a bad idea, and it looks like, unfortunately, that I was right, but I'm going to keep pushing. I'm passionate about making sure everyone has transportation options.
Thank you. Kate, Daniel, your thoughts?
Yeah, we need that project to continue, which actually was voted on the night that it was discussed. To keep this plan moving along, there's $500 million of funding that is tied to it. That, you know, we have a golden opportunity to actually move light rail into South Phoenix, which frankly is where it should have started to begin with. When I think of light rail and why I'm such a strong proponent, and by the way, I led an effort to bring light rail up 19th Avenue, which is my district. We got it done 7 years early. $300 million project, 7 years early, before Proposition 104, which I was a strong advocate for as well. But I have to say, it wasn't because I wanted people to solely get to a ball game. You know, that light rail track on 19th Avenue connects 7 different schools, places of worship, grocery stores, doctor's offices, and connects people, more importantly, to anywhere else in the region that has light rail. The most important thing is the 7-to-1 return on investment that we are seeing in a quarter mile in each direction of the tracks, which is why we should have started in South Phoenix. Plus, it helps us renovate the infrastructure that we have in the area. And third, yes, they can take you to school or work or wherever the case might be, but it's how you view light rail. It is infrastructure. Any world-class city must invest in infrastructure and education. And light rail is such it's just a valuable tool. We should have started in South Phoenix, and that project must continue.
Thank you very much for that answer. Kate, Daniel, this has been very informative, so thank you so much for your time. I think we can all agree that we're very fortunate that we have 2 outstanding candidates for Mayor of Phoenix, so thank you again. Please let's give a big round of applause again to Kate Gallego and Daniel Valenzuela. We appreciate it.
All right. I think I could speak on behalf of all my fellow SRP employees as well as our members of the board and council that they both did such a tremendous job today at the luncheon and at the discussion. Let's go ahead and give them another round of applause. I think they were terrific. Also like to extend a huge thank you to Catherine and Anaya for moderating today's discussion. Let's give her a round of applause as well. All right, before we close our program, I'd like to remind you that not only will there be local city elections this fall, but these midterm elections are shaping up to be quite historic. Arizona features a number of exciting races that are drawing significant national attention, from our U.S. Senate race, our governor's race, to a number of other offices down the ballot. That's why I urge each of you that are in attendance today to attend the state's biggest election event, and that's going to be SRP's own PIC Picnic. I know many of you are familiar with this. We wanted to go ahead and announce that today. It's going to take place on Saturday, October 20th. So feel free to get out your phones and mark that on your calendar. Again, Saturday, October 20th for SRP's PIC Picnic. I'm really excited to announce that this year we'll be having that picnic at the Sloan Park in Mesa. That's the spring training home of the Chicago Cubs. You'll have the opportunity to meet candidates for public offices, as well as enjoy lots of food, fun, and even a few surprises for attendees of all ages. So please go ahead and mark your calendars for that. I think it'll be a great time. Before we close today, I just wanted to mention that there's some table arrangements in the middle of your tables. I know this is always an exciting part of the PIC lunches. So why don't we go ahead and go with those of you, if anybody at the table has a birthday closest to August 28th, that's the date for Arizona's primary election, you can go ahead and take that centerpiece home with you today. So birthday closest to August 28th. Thanks again for attending today's luncheon. Please remember to vote. Be safe when you travel back to work. Thank you.